Hello, Georgia. Hello, Metro Augusta, and hello, wherever you are. This is Janice Allen Jackson welcoming you to this edition of the Local Matters podcast of Georgia, which is designed to make you a more confident voter and a more engaged citizen. As always, today's show is brought to you as a service of my consulting firm, which is Janice Allen Jackson and Associates, where we provide services to local government and nonprofit organizations. Please check out our website, which is janiceallenjackson.com, to learn more about me and services provided through the firm. Today's episode reminds us of how much the world has changed. And there's nothing that does that better than taking a reflective thought on technology and social media. Today, we talk with Sam Toles, who is a foremost expert on social media and the use of it to help local governments promote their interests in a positive way. We know that social media can make or break governments. In fact, there are many who are afraid of it because of what appears to be reckless commentary by usually the same 10 or 20 people, those we call STPs, who come back every time to complain or comment on anything that the local government is doing. And in that way, they help erode trust in those governments. Sam will talk to us about strategies to improve perception of local governments, build trust, and build engagement. So please hang around for this thought-provoking conversation. We'll also hit on some of the scamming, cybersecurity issues, as well as the deep fakes that we've heard so much about and how to protect ourselves against those as well. I also encourage you to follow us on Facebook. We do have a page there as well as on Instagram. They're called the Local Matters Podcast of Georgia. There we post links to new episodes and other information that may be useful to you as you become a more engaged citizen. We also, of course, ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Local Matters Podcast of Georgia, as well as follow us or subscribe on whatever audio podcast platform it is that you use. That may be Spotify, Apple Podcast, or SoundCloud. And if you missed some of our more recent episodes, we've had some pretty good ones. Of course, I think all of them are interesting, and that's why I invite those particular guests in. But we have had shows on the criminal justice system with an attorney by the name of Courtney Teasley, who has focused her law practice and her life's work on finding ways to ensure that those from marginalized communities, particularly African Americans, stand a fair chance when they get into the criminal justice system. We also recently interviewed Dr. Melinda Cobb. She is the superintendent of the Richmond County School System, and she talked about some of those issues that really concern those of us who are watching, particularly related to student achievement, why someone should choose to attend the Richmond County School System, and why somebody would choose to work in the Richmond County School System, because we need to make sure that there are as many qualified teachers as possible who are in the classroom with our kids. As always, we thank you so much for being a part of the Local Matters family, and I hope you find this conversation with Mr. Toles to be interesting and enlightening. Local Matters family, today we are favored with the return of Mr. Sam Toles. He was with us almost a year ago, and he is always an inspiring and interesting guest because he does so many creative things within the context of civic social. Is
Yep.
that right?
You
Did I get
got
it
it.
right?
You
Okay.
nailed it.
All right. Just a lot of really good things and taking local governments into different directions. So we want to welcome him back. How you doing today, Sam?
I am doing wonderfully. The air, even though I live in Florida, the air feels like it's got a crisp chill. We're heading right into the holidays. I want to wish everybody out there a happy holiday season. Hopefully, Thanksgiving was delicious and you're getting those gifts under the tree and doing all the things that make this time of year magical.
Yeah, it will be magical for sure because we're going to make it so, right?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
All right. First off, I got to ask, you're in Florida and you're wearing a Buffalo Bills shirt. So what's going on with that?
Well, my lifelong misery and or joy, depending on the year, is the is my hometown Buffalo and our football team. Funny story. We of course, because we're in the AFC East, we play Miami, so there's always a game here in Florida. I went to that game. I spent way too much money to get really good seats to watch the Bills absolutely humiliate themselves. But I think, look, whether it's whatever you do in life, fandom should not be temporary, right? I hate fans that jump on the bandwagon when a team is good. I spent my entire high school. My freshman year, the Bills went to the Super Bowl and lost. And then my sophomore year, they went to the Super Bowl and lost. And then my junior year, and then my senior year, four in a row. Four Super Bowls, four losses, four times in a row. So I don't know if you can endure that as a teenager, you are a lifelong fan, and so I am a Bills fan. Go Bills! Despite sometimes being awfully frustrated by their performance.
Yeah. But overall, they're actually doing pretty
They
good.
are, they are, and we have the
For
world's greatest quarterback. Josh Allen is truly a remarkable talent.
Yeah, Josh is a very unique talent. And of course, your coach and I have something very important in common, and that is we're both graduates of the College of William and Mary in Virginia.
Well, there we
Uh,
go.
of
Okay, I did not
course,
know that,
he's a
Mr.
little
McDermott.
younger. Yeah, he's a little younger than I am. But yeah, Sean McDermott is
You
one
look
of
younger than he
two.
does. He'd kill me if I said that, but you look better than Sean. I think it's because he looks like
Um,
me. He's got the bald head.
yeah. Yeah, he is one of two head coaches that are graduates, NFL head coaches who are graduates of my alma mater. So I
Oh,
always
wow.
kind of have to cheer for him. He and Mike Tomlin, I kind of have to cheer for him because that we graduated from the same
I now
place.
Mike Tomlin is I have no issues with Sean. Sometimes he's frustrating, sometimes he's great. I like his philosophy, but man, Mike Tomlin is truly, I think, if not the greatest NFL coach, like one of the top two, top three of
Yeah,
all time. Of all
yeah,
time.
yeah. Yeah, he's a great coach. I love the fact that he's so direct. He takes responsibility for whatever it is, but he dishes it out too. He's very direct, and I absolutely love that about him. So yeah, yeah. William and Mary has produced a couple of pretty good NFL head coaches.
I
So
love Janice. I love this. I didn't know you were a sports fan. I mean, as the former head of Bleacher Report's content, I bet you probably spent some time on Bleacher Report in your day.
I have spent some time there. Now I consume probably most of my sports news on YouTube.
Yep.
Do a little ESPN. Of course, you can't get away from it, so I still watch it. But yeah, YouTube. In fact, when I wake up in the morning, if it is a morning where I have the luxury of not having to jump on a meeting right away, I will check YouTube to see who said what about whom.
Yeah, and that is a
That kind of gets
perfect
me going.
Yeah, and that's a perfect transition or segue, right? Because your behavior is emblematic of how content has shifted in
Mhm.
this modern era. I mean, neither you or I are particularly of the younger generation. I hear so often, cities are like, well, our constituents are older, but my mother is 80 and she sends me TikToks almost every day now. She found it and now she loves it and sending me TikToks. You're checking in on YouTube. I'm usually on YouTube or Twitter, some combination of the two for my sports news. Obviously, for entertainment, I'm on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. I don't spend any time on Facebook because I feel like the decision for me to personally leave Facebook in 2016, which is a long time ago for my own mental health, was one of the greatest decisions I ever made. But then I found that, all social media does not need to be bad. It's funny when I do my keynote, which I've done in New York, Connecticut, Wisconsin now. I always start the keynote with this question to the audience, which is social media all bad or is all social media bad? And it's a perplexing question. People always like scratch their head and go, what is he talking about? But, there's a process by which we have lumped social media into this nameless thing, and it's bad, right? Like there's folks on LinkedIn that we see that write long essays about how terrible the world of social media is and how painful it is. And look, there is a lot of pain. I am sure the members of your audience feel not not infrequently the sting and the bite of certain types of social media. There is no doubt. But I always like to share in some of my teachings. I ask people, name a reality show, just any reality show, popular reality show, and typically Survivor, Big Brother, The Real Housewives of XYZ, right? The drama, conflict, competition, us versus them that is reality TV. And I always, use this as an intro to the idea of social media, because then my next slide I have a picture of the Great British Bake Off, and I said, why did none of you say this show? It's the most successful um, competition baking format in the world. And yet you didn't say it because it's a different kind of reality TV. It's the same thing. This is a unscripted competition reality format. That is what it is. But the tone, the flavor, the feeling of this show is very different. And so not all reality TV is bad, even though there's a lot of bad reality TV. Just like your joy that you find catching up on your favorite team on YouTube, or the silly folks that I watch on TikTok, bring me a lot of positivity and joy in my life, and bring my mother joy, and we laugh about some of the stuff that we're sharing together. That is also social media, right? And so we make a choice to say social media is all bad without actually thinking about how we can use the right kind of social media, not just in our personal lives, but in the way that we communicate in local government, and have that experience actually be quite positive. I'll end on this with this little opening line. I frequently get notes back from clients that have worked with me, and we'll talk about my journey over this last year since we last talked. But more often than not, I will get a text message from someone who will say, social media has become the favorite part of my job. It has changed the way I work in this city or this county, and I love doing it, right? Like that, you don't hear very often in our world. But if you are using the right social media the right way, it truly is a very different thing, just like Great British Bake Off.
Yeah, it is. And I've never been one that was overly negative on social media, because I always say, well, it depends on who you're connected to. So I connect to people who do and say positive things, and it helps me reconnect with college friends and things like that. So I've enjoyed my time on Facebook, even.
I won't go back. I do have a Facebook
And
account. I check it every so often. But I by removing it from my life, I just my blood pressure went down. Now,
gotcha.
unfortunately, a lot of folks can't for various reasons, but there are ways. The thing that surprised me most on this journey, weirdly, is how often clients will tell me like Facebook has gotten positive, and I'm like, I didn't think that was possible. It's not sort of the approach that I practice, which is I don't believe in a Facebook first approach looking at demographics and data. I don't think it serves communications well. But when you reverse engineer, when you think about things with positive intention, and you program content with positive intention, all of a sudden, even the negative platforms can flip because your approach is different.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, is flipping the script, so to speak. It's interesting. A few months ago, I was talking to a candidate. I was interviewing him for a city manager role. And one of the things he said was, I have to confess, I just hate social media. But he had reached the point where he realized that even though he personally hates it, it is necessary to have someone on your staff who knows something about how it works in order to better convey your message. And I assume, based upon all I know about you, is that you feel the same way.
100%. Right? Like,
Okay.
I don't think that managers or electeds, it's not a requirement of that job. Probably more for an elected than it is for a manager to embrace social media. But the problem is, if you're a manager or if you're in that seat and your electeds are so focused on the comment section or on those community groups that just thrive on drama and toxicity, those electeds are coming to you saying you need to fix these problems. This is a problem, and this is a problem. And the problem is that these small noisy groups, what I've always called the STPs, the same 10 people, the same 20 people that agitate on certain social platforms, they are obsessives. They're not representative of the needs of the community. They're not representative of the wants of the communities. But if they monopolize the attention of the electeds, that comes roaring back into the managers' lives. And so I think that the issue is, how can cities, counties, towns, villages broaden their social media approach, do this without investing in increased staffing, right? You can't, most communities cannot afford a 4 or 5 6 persons comm team. They're lucky to have a single person, or maybe that's a person that wears 2 or 3 hats, right? Like, how do we take the resources that we have? How do we empower the organization as it exists right now to broaden the reach of social media, to grasp the casual person, that mom who's got a job and she's got 2 kids and she loves living in your community, and she's generally appreciative of the public safety, of the parks, of the events that you put on that her kids can go to, but is just sort of low awareness and not on your radar. Like, that's your advocate. You need to remind her that you're here, you're a neighbor. You, as an organization, are neighbors serving neighbors. Your purpose is to make her life better. When she flips on the tap water, that the tap water is clean and safe for her and for her kids to drink. It's not interrupted. When there is an incident, if there's a fire or a need for emergency services, that those people are there standing by, ready to help, right? That light touch reminder that this work is done on your behalf builds allyship, builds a group of people who, when the agitators, focus on the very minutia, or their perceived belief that there's some kind of conspiracy or ill intent or bad people doing bad things, and oh, government's all bad, right? When they start kicking up, if you haven't built a relationship or connection with that single mom who's going to say, hey, wait a minute, these are my friends, and these people do this work, and I see their work all the time, and they work hard. So shut up, get off my feed. Because once you have a few of those people, once you have defenders, it's amazing. The STPs go away. I'll share one last little quick thing, which is I met with a client that I worked with literally this time last year, and city manager had a tremendous issue with the STPs. It was just like really, at wit's end. It has a very small team. The city has a staff of about 20 people, full-time staff, which is a very big city, like 20 plus thousand residents, 20 staff. They do a lot of contract, but had enough. And so I came in, worked with them. I had the pleasure of being back in that area of California, and I asked him, I said, how are things going? He said, well, Sam, I don't have an STP problem anymore. And I said, oh, okay. He goes, I have an SOP problem. I said, what does that mean? He goes, we're down to one person. We used to have 20 people that were consistently attacking us, and they've all gone away except for this one person. And I guess that's just sort of how it has to be. But that's the power of, you know, telling your own story and telling a positive story versus constantly, for these managers, they're constantly
Yeah.
reacting.
Yeah.
They're
On the
always in reactive
defense.
mode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On the defense, so to speak.
right. I mean, Sean McDermott's a defensive coach. Mike Tomlin's an offensive coach. Like I like the offensive coaches, right? I think that you have to sometimes proactively tell your story. You have to go score some touchdowns. You have to go kick that field goal. You can't just constantly be blocking and tackling, because guess what? Like any good football team, if you're always on defense, you're going to get exhausted. And I think that's what you're hearing so often in local government is people are exhausted because they've just constantly been on defense. I'm sure that's what your candidate was talking about.
Yeah. 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 And he felt like he had just been unfairly maligned and attacked and all of those things because people don't have the facts. And he was suffering because of that. And your approach is just the opposite. We'll find ways to put the facts in front of
Yeah.
them and use the social media platforms constructively. Are you seeing more cities and counties that are now interested in being more proactive and more offensive with their social media
Yeah,
approaches?
it's look, government is interesting. I want to just really emphasize something you just said, Janice, before I answer that question, which is um I like Mike Tomlin. I'm a bit of a hard love kind of guy.
Mhm.
And for people listening to your podcast, right, that are like, social media is a problem, I'm mad at it, they're not, they being the audience or the constituents, aren't, taking the time to get the facts. I really, your point is so important. What have you done to make that process? Like, what a constituent, and we all in this democracy are constituents of somebody. I have my local council and my county government, my state government, and my federal government. I have an expectation that they're going to give me information, and it's going to be given to me in the way that I can understand it and read it and access it. And I, like every other person in this country, are overwhelmed with information. My mailbox is filled with endless flyers and solicitations. I get endless spam text messages. I consume a lot of media, both social and otherwise. Like, I'm a busy person. Most people are like me. The fact that I don't know what you're up to is not, I'm sorry, it's not my responsibility as a constituent to know that. You have a responsibility. Well, I put it on a flyer. Well, I posted a long document on Facebook. Why didn't they read it? They didn't come to the city council meeting. It's on them. No, it's not. I mean, like, tough love, guys. No, it's not. If you are having a problem with social media, you have to look in the mirror and say, like, we have to fix this. We have to make this better, because the misinformation, the disinformation is truly because somebody is taking effort to put something out there, and you are not effectively countering that message or providing the information in a way that people want to consume. To answer your question really quickly, this has been unbelievable. I mean, I have worked in 15 states since we last talked, right? The message is spreading. And I don't do outbound, I don't spend a dollar in marketing. I don't do outbound solicitation. I literally tell any city manager that wants to work with me, or any elected official who wants to get their city involved, I say, look, go on my website. There's a bunch of logos. Call any member, any person on city manager, assistant city manager, comms person in that community. Ask them what this was about, and then have a conversation with me, because there's not a client that I've worked with that hasn't had a really transformative experience. Each one takes it differently. Each takes their own approach. They own it. Some move very rapidly. Some embrace TikTok quickly. Some say, you know what? We're uncomfortable with TikTok. We're going to focus on Instagram. We're going to build our YouTube. But everybody is making a positive difference. And the main thing is they stop feeling uh, put upon or negative, because now they have agency. They have the ability in themselves. It's not me. It's not a marketing firm. It's not somebody else that's controlling it or taking it on for them. It's them with agency doing the work, and that agency, that ability to go on offense, to tell the incredible positive story of the work that you do, and to have people react to it in a positive way, is transformative. And so, it's government is slow. There are a lot of people I talk to that will say, just like your candidate, oh, social media, that's just bad. All social media, I just wish it would go away, right? I don't
Mhm.
want to talk about social media. That is a choice. Like, I'm not going to criticize you for making that decision. As I said, I had to take myself off Facebook, because for me personally, it became too painful for me to consistently live in that negativity. But the reality is, your constituents, the people you serve, the average age of an American today is like 37 years old. That is not a Facebook person. That is an
Yeah.
Instagram person. And they speak in a different language. And if you don't want to talk to them, and by the way, those younger people, the thing that I love about young people is that typically they're the most hopeful, and they tend to, like, as we get older, we get more cynical, right?
Yep.
if you're not talking to young people who really are looking for something to be hopeful about, local government deserves it. You guys do amazing work. Like, give them a taste of what is amazing. And Janice is a recruiter, right? How many local governments are struggling to get young police officers, young firefighters, young public works, young code enforcement officers? How many struggle to fill the pipeline with the next generation of talent? Why is that? Because we're not talking to them. We're posting our flyers on Facebook and sending out mailings, and that is reaching a 50, 60, 70-year-old demographic. And young people are not inspired to be in local government because they don't see it. There's no visibility. So there's so many reasons why embracing this approach is important. And my philosophy is hiring a marketing firm or hiring somebody to do it for you is just shirking responsibility that really belongs within the organization. This is, you are fully capable. If a city of 20 full-time staff can transform their social media, you can too.
Yeah. And so your approach, you're not a marketing firm. I just want to
No,
make that clear.
not at all.
Your approach is based upon teaching the staff how to do it themselves, basically.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's I describe it as a system, right? Like
Mhm.
you're when you work with me, I spend 5 days in your agency on the ground, hands on. Before that, I build a customized sort of system, looking at your socials, thinking about your community, your demographics, like where are they? How are you going to reach them? What does that look like? I assess the staff, the existing staff, and I'm not just talking about your comms person. I want to look at everybody in the organization because on your line staff, there are people who understand and love social media. They just do it in their personal lives. How can we activate them for 5 or 10 minutes a day as they're filling a pothole to pull out their camera and talk about their work or to show the work that they're doing, right? Having that sort of creator squad within your organization. And then we build a strategy and safety around that, right? Like it's this concept of permission structure, giving the people on staff who would like to be involved in social media the permission to engage, but placing them within a structure that keeps the organization safe and keeps your communication goals moving forward. And then once we're done, after that 5 day engagement and the pre work and post deliverables, you never need to see me again. All my clients call me and text me. I love that. And I never charge for follow ups because, like, I love this work of passion, but it's a system. Once you've adopted the Civi social approach, you are fully autonomous and should be successful in social media. And that's the brilliance of it.
Okay. Cool beans. Thank you for defining that. And your approach is not just to get better engagement from the public, but also can assist with things like recruitment and retention of
Oh yes.
employees.
Yeah.
Because you're absolutely right. The younger person, I actually was interviewing candidates for another position a couple of months ago, and they were saying they rethought their entire recruitment strategy for their police department because, billboards, you know, really, how much were they getting back from having billboards up saying we're looking for new police officers? They found out they got a lot more on Instagram and TikTok. So
Mhm.
that's where they devoted, 90% of their resources.
There's a really funny video I share in my training. It comes from Australia because Australia is also struggling to get enough cops into their system. They're they have video in targeted at U.S. police officers and potential police officers saying, "Come to South Australia and work with us. We need cops, and you should come here." And they got their head of police, their chief of police, and he's standing in his full uniform on the beach, pitching the benefits and the reasons, and he says, look at what we have. We have this beautiful beach, and then the backdrop falls down. He is still on a beach. It's like a backdrop of the place he is at, but the camera pans out, and below his uniform, he's wearing, funny board shorts, right? This is an older guy. He's their chief of police or their equivalent of that. He's got a big smile on his face, but this is the point, right? It's the fact that he is willing to say, hey, I have a human side, I have a sense of humor. I'm not, this is not, speaking to camera, messaging about the benefits. This is about a culture that welcomes young people. And if you can convey that, on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, you really will. That's where you're going to find your next generation of staff.
Yeah, and local government really does have a problem in terms of recruiting staff, recruiting and retaining. It has been
Yes,
problematic. So organizations can benefit from whatever new means there may be
they're
to
not doing it for the
attract
money.
and
We know that, right? Right.
right,
Most local government
exactly.
jobs have limited, you know, limited upside from a financial perspective. So you have to inspire, and that's the key.
Yeah, you have to inspire. And I think one of the key things I've heard from people is that letting them know how their work makes a difference
Bingo.
is something that really appeals to the type of people that you want to have,
Yeah.
working in your organization, those that feel a sense of social responsibility and those sorts of things. You have all this knowledge, you've done all these things. Have you written a book?
I have written two books since we last talked.
Wow. Tell us about
Yes.
that.
Okay, so the first book, which, by the way, for members of your audience, if you're a city manager, assistant, a department head, you can go on my website and get a free copy of it because I give it away. I didn't write it to make money. I gave it as a resource. It is called the Social Media Playbook for city and county managers. It is a practical how-to guide, basically from soup to nuts, of like how to embrace the type of social media philosophy that made my time at Bleacher Report, my time working with members of the Mr. Beast team, my time at MGM Studios, as successful as it was. Taking all my knowledge from my career and translating it to the work of local government. So if you're in that profession and you want a resource, the book is available. It's called the Social Media Playbook for City and County Managers, also on Amazon. But then I was asked by a friend. He said, the biggest problem we have is with our elected officials, because they're the ones that we really want to learn how to be better at social media. And as a former elected official, as somebody who sat in that seat, it made sense to me. So recently, a few weeks ago, I released my second book, which is the Social Media Playbook for Local Elected Officials, which is available on Amazon. That one I don't give away, but it is much less. It's like $12, I think, is what the price is, reasonable. And really, I wrote that book from the heart, from the perspective of a local elected official. I start the book about my own journey getting elected and how I first met the STPs in a not social media context, right? When I ran for office, I had lived in the community for 6 months. There was a 3-term incumbent that was there for 12 years, running for his 4th term. I had a 2-term incumbent that was there for 8 years, running for his 3rd term. And in California, it's top 2 past the post. So top 2 vote getters get a seat. There was one other challenger. And then the mayor is elected separately. So to punchline it, I got more votes in that election than anyone, including the mayor. And I'd lived there for 6 months. The way that happened was I went to the Rotary meeting. I went to the chamber meeting. I went to the pancake breakfast. And I noticed something in the early part of my campaign. It was the same 20 or 30 people that attended all of these. Like, we just kept recycling these same people. And I looked at the data and I said, well, I got to get thousands of people. I mean, my election was held in November, just at the same time that the governor and the senators and it's the same ballot. There are going to be thousands of people that are going to show up and vote in this election. I've spoken to these people, these 20 or 30. I've talked to them a lot. I've spent the last like 3 weeks getting to know them. If I just spend time with these people, I'm going to lose because they already have got decades long relationships with these other elected. So I grabbed the voter list of high propensity voters, people who vote in every single election, primary and local and special and everything. And I just started knocking on doors. And the funny thing that happened was this. When I asked people that I knocked on doors, when they invited me into their home or had a conversation on the porch, I would say, so like, what are the things that you're concerned about? Like, what do you want to see your local government do? What do you want to see happen? And the fascinating thing was the things that the STPs, that cabal, were talking about were not the things that I
Not at
heard
all.
consistently
Not at
knocking on
all.
doors. They're not at all, right? They just wanted their parks to not have trash. Like, that was the thing I kept hearing over and over and over again. My opponents didn't think that that was an issue because they had other things, minutia things that the SD. So I just started making the campaign about clean the trash out of the parks, get our fiscal house in order because people are like, we want the budget to be sound. We don't want to like these were things that I would hear. So I just made my campaign about that. And when I talked to people, I would use those 2 or 3 talking points about what it was that I wanted to do, which was aligned with what I heard from the silent majority, the people that we don't talk to, and lo and behold, I won. The application of this philosophy that allowed me to win my election is the same basic premise behind my social media strategy. You're talking to people because they're talking to you, but you're not reaching out to people who actually do have an opinion, who do care about the city that they live in, who care about their local government, who just happen to have full-time jobs and kids and pets and life and don't have time to go to the meetings or to engage. But it's not that they're not looking to engage. And if someone else, a misinformation spreader, gets to them first, that's the person they're going to start listening to. And so again, it goes back to my hard love philosophy. So the book on elected officials is really all about, hey, elected officials, here is how you should think about social media. Once you're in the seat, it changes. You can, as a challenger, if I had chosen to in my election, I could have attacked my incumbents. I did not. I chose to focus on things that people cared about. But once you are in the seat, and anyone who listens to this podcast that's an elected official know this, the dynamic shifts. Now you own it, right? Before you could criticize it. Now you have to take ownership and responsibility. But the good thing is people like the person that fills their pothole, that cleans their parks, that keeps their street safes. But they don't like a politician who takes credit for those people's work. So my advice to politicians, to people who are local elected officials, is very simple. And the book goes into a lot of details and all the things you need to know. But if you have to boil it down to one thing, it's this. Your role in social media is the same role you have as an elected officials. Ask questions. Be the council person or the mayor who goes to the public works yard and says, hey, why do we do it this way? Explain how we get the streets plowed in a snowstorm, or how we plant trees, or how we clean up leaves. Explain it to me, because I'm really curious. Be the curious person who's asking questions, and let staff answer the questions. Don't stand behind the ribbon and get in your suit and be that sort of like typical politician. Be the advocate of your constituents. Ask the questions in a respectful, thoughtful way. Get to know the people that make local government work, and you will come across as a thoughtful, caring superstar, and you'll do it in a way that is socially native. So if you don't have time to read the book, or don't want to spend the money on Amazon if you're a local elected official, that's my best advice. Your role in social media is to be a thoughtful, curious questioner, to use social media to get people to understand how local government works and what exactly it is that they do. Because when they understand that, they will be far more likely to support you, because they can see you not only holding them accountable, but also very much engaged in the work that you were elected to do.
Right. And your approach to winning the election seems like you just broaden the number of people in the process.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And that probably also dilutes the same 10 or same 20 people effect as well.
Yeah.
When you've got more people who are engaged and they're expressing their opinions, it sort of drowns out the opinions of those ones, that the frequent flyers. We
The
used to call them
frequent flyers.
that
Yes.
show up at every meeting.
And I wouldn't say that I broadened it in the sense of like I didn't add, maybe I added a few more people that came to the polls. I think what happens when you're going on a long ballot is when you get to the end, you're sort of guessing, right? Like,
Mhm.
who are these people?
Yep, right.
I've heard this name, right? There's no ego involved. Like, it's just like as you get further down the ballot, it's less known. And so for me, it was about, how do I make people understand that I care about what they care about and connect with them, and that they hear my name and make that connection. So it was just talking to this group of people and giving them context around why I was running for office and why I was focused on the things that they cared about.
Okay. That's very good. Thanks for that advice. Again, the title of the book
The
is
Social Media Playbook for Local Elected Officials, which is on Amazon. And if you, again, want to check out the other one, it's also on Amazon, Social Media Playbook for City and County Managers, but free on the website for anyone who's a department head or manager in your
okay.
audience.
Okay. Oh, great. Thank you for sharing that. So you've written a couple of books. You're broadening this very specifically defined consulting work with local governments to help them improve their utilization of social media. You've done this over the last couple of years. What's coming in 2026? Is it more of the same, or you're going to bust out with something totally new
Oh,
for us to see in 2026?
so yes, there's gonna be more, so much more. Look, the first and foremost, my mission, the core Civi Social product and program, I want to expand it. I just hired a new vice president of client adoption in South Carolina to help me spread the word and to make sure that clients, potential clients, or people struggling with social media know about our program and know that we exist and have a resource to go and check us out. My hope is that we can expand the program to, and I have not even been in business for 2 years. I think it's 18 months. So,
Okay.
20 clients in 18 months in 15 states. It's a pretty crazy journey. But I also am now offering some virtual courses for virtual sessions for local
Mhm.
elected officials. Again, paired with the book, like I want elected officials to have access to my knowledge and do that in a structured 3-hour course, which I'll do once or twice a month if demand warrants. And then there's one other thing we didn't talk about, but deepfake. This is coming, folks. You've heard the term deepfake, right? Deep fake
Yes, for
is
sure.
you as the mayor or you as the city manager or your police chief saying, hey, we have a new portal to pay your taxes. Please go to this link and pay your property taxes here. And it's the mayor in their own voice saying this, or it's the commissioner, or it's the police chief, or whoever it is, except it's not. Right? It's not those people. It's a computer simulation of that person. And this is going to hit. And people are always like, oh, the STPs or someone's going to use this for misinformation. No, the use case is crime. Russians, hackers using this to get your constituents to wire money to Russia through fake portals that are designed to look like, and when it happens, this is, I like to try to be ahead of things that are happening or could happen. You don't want to buy the insurance policy while your house is on fire, right? So we need to think about deepfake now. And a dear friend of mine happens to be head of strategy for the world's most aggressive deepfake destruction company. So they work with people like Josh Allen. I don't know if Josh is a client actually, but Steve Harvey's a client of theirs. Sony Music is a client. They work with big studios, big NFL players. All their client list is I've seen the people they work with. Trust me. But they help athletes take down deep fakes. They help musicians take down deep fakes. And so I told my friend Kathleen, I said, I need this solution for local government, but you have to give me a 90% discount because they can't afford what you
Right,
charge these
right.
folks. And so she did. And so again, also on my website, if you want to, I don't make money on this. This is me just continuing the mission. But if you're worried about deepfakes, there is a software that you can invest in that's very affordable now through me, or not through me, but through my link, that will allow you to make sure that you're protected so that someone is not able to create that. Because I guarantee you that poor, my mother gets scammed at least twice a year, and it's thousands of dollars every time it happens, and I feel terrible for her. But I guarantee if my mom sees the mayor saying pay your property tax bills and she doesn't check in with me and goes to that link and sends thousands of dollars to this Russian hacker, she's going to blame them. She's going to tell me, but the mayor told me. I saw
Yeah,
him. I
right.
saw him say it, right? You don't want that. I promise you, folks, you do not want that. So deep fakes is something I feel passionate about. I want to help. AI is changing a lot. So helping cities understand, not, I mean, my God, I'm sure your audience, it's like every day you probably get 75 courses to learn about AI. That's not what I'm talking about. What are AI things that you should be aware of in social media? Deepfake is one of them, but there are tools that you can use to effectively, for example, if you have a lot of Spanish speaking people in your audience, you can translate everything you're doing in your own voice into Spanish, and AI can do that with video that you already have. So many interesting things, but the goal is Civi Social is mission based. The more people I work with, the more people talk about it, the more people want to work with me. And so that's, just keep doing what I'm doing, but do it in ways that continue to expand and help local government into the best of my ability.
Sounds great. And as you talk about deep fakes, I have to ask this
Yeah.
question. Some of the deep fakes are absolutely hilarious. I mean, there are a couple of YouTube channels. Sometimes I
Yes.
need a good laugh. I will go to them
A lot of
because
Queen
it will
Elizabeth. Queen
it
Elizabeth
will
is a featured character in a lot of the deepfakes I see.
Okay. The ones that I watch, getting back to my interest in sports, it'll be Steph Curry or, Josh Allen or somebody. They'll be faking stuff and they got the voices down for a few of them,
Yep.
Novak Djokovic is like another one. They got him down. And they will say absolutely hilarious things about their teammates or their opponents or whatever. And I'm laughing, but you can tell from the comments, some of these people haven't figured out that this is
No.
not really Steph Curry or Novak Djokovic.
No. 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 This is the issue, right?
And that takes me to when it's somebody that the folks on YouTube are just doing it for fun and for whatever money they make from that, but it gets really serious when it is somebody from outside the country that's getting somebody's property tax money. Will our law enforcement systems be able to catch up with these folks? I mean, how far behind are they? And are they getting any closer to being able to identify those scammers and
Yeah.
prevent that type of activity?
So the problem is this: the software available to do this type of deepfake is either free or like less than $20. I mean, it's the amount of powerful video deepfake software that's available right now to average consumers off the shelf is astonishing. It surprises me, and I tend to be very ahead of the curve. It's just happening now, right? Like, and it's moving very, very quickly. So, uh, as is always the case in life, not just in government, the private sector does this too, but so few people get prepared for a problem until the problem exists. So it's moving so fast. Law enforcement hasn't activated because they don't see the threat, or that no one in the elected world is saying this is something to focus on. Law enforcement has to take direction as staff from the powers that be. And right now, there is no, you know, situation where these folks have figured out, oh my God, there's a gold mine. I don't have to get people to send me gift cards. I can have them attach their bank accounts because I can be the mayor. I can be the county commissioner. I can be the tax collector. I can be any of these folks. All I need is 5 seconds of their voice and a still photograph, and I can turn them in and make them say anything I want. Once the hackers figure this out, now this problem becomes, and it's great that there's a solution like Vermilio, but law enforcement, a lot of different agencies, a lot of different places, a lot of these actors are going to be international. All the things that we had to go through in cybersecurity with people hacking in and ransomware and all, this is what deepfake is going to be. It just, for agencies that pre-planned or were or forward thinking about it, they got ahead of the curve, because once the curve starts happening, you're just waiting to be a victim, unless you've, because law enforcement's reactive. Somebody, 25 senior citizens in your community sent their, social security check to Russia because the mayor told them so. Well, yeah, cops can say that, you're going to have that conversation with law enforcement. They're going to say, oh, yeah, well, that site's in Russia, and we wish you'd done something about that, but gee whiz, right? Like that's what's going to happen. So that's why I'm so passionate about people being prepared. They need to know this is coming. And again, I don't say this because this isn't even my business. This is a friend that works for another business that I happen to find and say, oh my God, you're doing the thing that I'm really worried about. Help me get a discount to local government. So I don't want to, and the reason I care about this is I don't want social media to be even more of a problem than it is now. Like I don't want people going, "My God, social media was bad, and now the old people are sending their tax money to Russia." Social media, Sam, you're the worst person in the world. I want people to understand, like you got to prepare, you got to understand this technology. Having an expert like me, and I don't say that with ego, in this field helping local government is unique because most people that did what I did and do what I do it elsewhere, right? Like I care about this and I want people to know that.
Okay. That is awesome. We've talked for a while, but I could talk to you forever. Is there
Our
anything
episodes are always
else?
long.
Is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners before we close out today?
I would just love it if you guys would check out my website, www.civisocial.com. Lots of video content, all the things that Janice and I talked about on today's show. You can find links to the books, to the elected program, to Civisocial itself. If you want to reach out, my personal email is sam@civisocial.com. So I'm always open to connect with you guys, to share a conversation if I can be helpful in any way. And I think that's, just get in touch. I'd love to help you if I can be of help.
Sam, thanks so much for being such a tremendous resource to local government professionals and also, by extension, finding ways to help the folks that local government serve. So we appreciate you and your work, and I wish you the best.
Janice, thank you for being a great communicator, a wonderful person, and somebody who, when I go to a conference and I see your face, you just brighten my whole day. So you are a wonderful friend. Thank you for being you, and thank you for doing this.
You are very welcome. I close with my favorite Bible verse, 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. This show is designed to contribute to each of those, giving you the power that comes with knowledge, demonstrating love for your local community, and offering you wisdom for decision making so that you possess a sound mind when it comes to these topics. Please tune in to Local Matters next week as we drop new episodes every Wednesday on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and sometimes YouTube. Thanks so much for being a part of the Local Matters family.